Hey, welcome to WoodPortGuitars. Thanks for stopping by. So, if you've been watching, I've recently had some time off from making videos due to an unscheduled emergency kitchen renovation due to a leaky pipe. So what should have taken 3 days took 3 weeks, and I had my 3-year-old grandson to help. It was awesome. So in my downtime, I did a little YouTube channel surfing, and I found the cigar box builder out of Australia. His name's Adam. He made an amp and I really liked it. It was rounded on the top like an old mantle clock or an old antique radio. I really like it, and I like the way it sounded. So he built the Ruby amp, and you can't really show the schematics to a Ruby amp. Don't really want to get into all of that, so I'm not going to build the Ruby amp. I'm going to build something different. I'm going to call it the acid amp, because it's going to go in an acid cigar box, and a bigger acid amp. I'm going to go for a different design. I want to be able to share the schematics, the design, the layouts, everything. So in the true sense of do-it-yourself, it's all out there. It's open source, whatever you want to call it. But that's for a future video, future project, and yeah, I'm getting excited about that. So back to what we were doing before. Twin number 2, it's been 2 weeks since I seen it. That's way too long. So this thing is still ready for sanding, and I had somebody ask in the comments how I got the glossy finish on this guitar neck, on the fretboard. And the fretboard and the neck both have the same treatment when it comes to the finish. So what I do, since this is rasped, it's rough. So I start off with the orbital sander with 80 grit, and I'll do the backside of the neck, the headstock, everything but the fretboard. When I go to 150 on the orbital sander, or 120, whatever it takes, I do the fretboard lightly with some 120, and the whole neck gets the 120. Then I actually go to hand sanding with 220, 320, and then 400 grit. And by the time you're done with that 400 grit, that neck will be so silky smooth, it's playable right then. It's sweet. So however I get my dust off, whether I wipe it off, blow it off, brush it off, I always use a tack cloth to make sure I got all the dust off of it. Don't mash too hard, because you'll get resin on your wood, and that's not good for finish. But this thing lightly will pick up all the sawdust that's left on there, all the sanding dust. They are awesome. Get yourself one. They're cheap. So the finish on these guitar necks, these two in particular, is just Rust-Oleum clear. This, I believe, says semi-gloss, but I actually used a satin finish when I did this neck. I just happened to use it all up, and cans in the recycle bin. So I spray the neck with this. So I spray the fretboard, the neck, the whole thing, but I will stop somewhere around in here, because this doesn't need to be spray finished. It doesn't matter. If you want to, certainly do it, but you don't have to, because nobody ever sees it except for you when you build it. But I do like to spray the sides and the ends of the headstock first, and then spray the rest of it. It's really up to you how you want to do it. So I spray a coat on, let it dry, and I'll take 320 grit sandpaper and lightly sand the whole thing. Then I spray it again and again, let it dry, sand it 320, just a light sanding, and then on the third coat, let it dry, and I actually take this stuff. This is 4-0 steel wool. I heard it called quad-aught because there's 4 zeros. I guess that's an American thing, but it's a super fine. It's the finest steel wool that I know of you can get. 4 zeros on the package. I actually just take this and just buff the whole thing, the fretboard, the neck, and I don't go like I'm sanding with the grain. I buff it. I go all over, and it's I don't know, I really like it. It comes out so smooth and so nice, and if you're using gloss, semi-gloss, you get a really nice gloss on it. It's just what I prefer to do on these guitars. You can also, there are many other finishes you can do. A lot of guys are using teak oil, Danish oil, boiled linseed oil. You know, you can use just about anything on there, I guess. Even some Rubio monocoat if you want to go there. I like the lacquer finish. It feels natural to me, just like regular electric guitars. So I grew up on electrics. That's natural to me, so I like it. Now, you don't have to do a finish. There's not one spot of finish on this guitar, and I absolutely love it. And you can see that the fretboard is not sealed with any kind of finish at all. And if you dress your frets and you don't wash your hands and then you pick this one up and play it, well, look, that's the G minor pentatonic scale. Love this guitar. So you do whatever finish you want to do. That is how I do these necks, and that is how I got that glossy finish on there. Was just some simple, cheap Rust-Oleum. The box needs the four corners reinforced, which actually help reinforce the box and gives you a spot to put screws in to hold the lid down tight. You don't want any rattles. The other thing we have to do is cut out the neck slot. So when it comes to the neck slot, what I usually do is I make sure that my neck is sanded before I even measure it, because if you lose anything when you're sanding, it's smaller than when you measured it the last time. So basically, I just measure the width of the neck right where it's going to be going into the fretboard. Mine happens to be 38.6 millimeters or 1.5 inches. And so I'll take my box and I'll find the center of it. And I usually put me some blue tape on here. I'll mark a center mark, and then I'll take a little bit off of this, just a fuzz. Just take a little, make it a little bit narrower when you draw it out. When you cut it, it's easier to come back and file or sand a little bit of wood away to make your neck fit better. It's not so easy to try to add something back there to hide a gap. Those aren't fun. So when it comes to the height of your neck, you can see my box is 1.5 inches deep inside. My neck is 1.5 inches. This board and this board is 1.5 inches. So I want my fretboard above this, and if you look, this is 1.5 inches, but this is 1/4 inch higher, and I want my fretboard over the top of that. So realistically, I'm measuring the tall edge, not the short edge. Not all of the boxes are made the same. You have to look and see how your lid goes down into the box. But I measure down from that point. I want this lid to be resting right here. Right where I don't have any tape is where I want my lid to be resting. So that's how low I cut it. And I will measure this, and I will stop a little short, and I will make sure that I'm not going to get too tall. So if you made it this far, thank you. Thank you for watching. I hope you got something from this video, and I hope you come back to watch more. Please like, leave a comment, I love them. Thumbs up, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out.